Welcome back to another video, guys. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 mental health hacks that you can use to forge an unbreakable resilience in the digital age. Most self-improvement YouTubers give advice on, dating, on how to get abs, on how to be more productive, but very few give advice on how to build your resilience. And this is incredibly important in the digital age, and there are barely any resources for young men trying to improve themselves. And honestly, self-improvement can lead you down a rabbit hole and really ruin your mental health if you're not careful. And frankly, I experienced this firsthand. I ran into 7 issues in particular that held me back. First of all, I was incredibly overwhelmed by the amount of information and advice on social media. Secondly, I found myself constantly comparing myself to other influencers. This made me less motivated, this made me more depressed, and it overall lowered my self-esteem. Thirdly, I was a slave to my emotions, and there were no practical tools on how I could conquer this and alter my mental state when it isn't ideal. The fourth one was that I was terrified of rejection and failure, which prevented me from taking action a lot of times and doing the things I know I wanted to do. Anytime I wanted to start a business, ask a girl out, start a YouTube channel, I would overanalyze things and I would be paralyzed with fear. Thus, I would spend hours watching self-improvement content and yet not improving at all. The fifth thing is that I burned out because of the incredibly high standards I had for myself and the constant perpetuation of this idea that you need to work every waking hour of your life or you're not going to be successful. The sixth problem was that I struggled to find like-minded men, and I would isolate myself because there were not a lot of people that I could connect with who had similar values and similar goals. And the seventh thing was that I felt directionless. I felt like I was being pulled in all of these directions, like I needed to learn this skill and then that skill, and I felt like there was no time. So here are the 5 mental health hacks that I use to conquer these challenges. The first one is reduce your screen time. This one is a no-brainer. I mean, the constant comparison I would do and the information overload that I got was facilitated by my constant scrolling on social media. The second I reduced my screen time from 8 hours a day to 2 hours a day, my productivity, my mental health, my physical health, everything improved tremendously. So if you want to be more productive and overall happier and have less overwhelm, reduce your screen time, and I recommend a limit of 2 hours a day. The second hack is grounding. Now this one is great for mastering your emotions. To do this, you simply want to take a deep breath, feel the sensation of your feet touching the ground. Then open your eyes and name 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. You can use this when you're in extremely high stress situations or if you're extremely anxious or about to make an impulsive decision. Use this technique to rein back your emotions and make a logical decision. And it is also just a great mood reset, right? It brings your attention to the present moment. The third mental health hack is the dysfunctional thought log. Now, I got this tip from the book Feeling Good by Dr. David D. Burns. Essentially, the idea behind it is that our thoughts are what trigger our emotional responses, right? If we have negative thoughts, we're going to experience negative emotion. Thus, if we're constantly speaking to ourselves negatively, we will be in a bad mood most of the time. In order to rewire this bad habit and become your own coach and own mentor rather than your own worst critic, at the end of every day, I want you to take out a piece of paper, take out a Google Doc, something you can write on, and then think about all of the negative thoughts that you had about yourself during the day, right? When you looked at yourself in the mirror and you weren't satisfied with your progress, when you got a bad grade or something, I want you to remember all of the bad thoughts that came up, right? Maybe you said to yourself, you're fat, or maybe you said, I'm a failure, right? And then once you have written all of these negative thoughts down, I want you to reframe them so that they actually reflect the truth. Like, for example, let's say you look in the mirror and your lower ab is a bit less visible and you call yourself fat. Well, let's check the facts. First of all, if you can see any of your abs, you're probably not fat. That's that dispelled. If you get a bad grade and you say to yourself you're a failure, well, technically, isn't the definition of a failure being someone who fails at everything, right? Someone who has failed at life. Well, is failing that one test really a sign that you failed at life? I don't think so. And once you reframe these negative thoughts on another sheet of paper or on the other half of the paper, you will start to see that your negative thoughts are full of cognitive distortions. They are simply lies and overgeneralizations, labeling, and all of the things that are not helpful, oftentimes not true, and are horrible for your mental health. Over time, you will start to rewire your thoughts and catch yourself whenever you do have a negative thought so that you can reframe it and have a more positive thought. The fourth mental health hack that you can use to regain control of your emotions and build an unbreakable resilience in the digital age is a life audit. Essentially what you're doing is sectionalizing your life into its major parts, right? So relationships, family, fitness, mental health. Then I want you to rate each part out of 10 based on your overall satisfaction with that area of your life. And then once you have done that, I want you to pick 2 areas that you have identified. Either you have the lowest rating or you want to improve it the most. And then I want you to create a systemized plan of action to actually improve in those areas. And then I want you to work on those 2 areas and only those 2 areas for the next 6 to 8 weeks. This helps by reducing overwhelm and preventing burnout, by reducing the cognitive load that you have at all times, right? If you don't prioritize anything and you are trying to improve everything at once, you'll have all of this chaos in your head. If you actually prioritize 2 areas at a time, you'll make progress faster and those areas will improve tremendously. It will also help you find direction, right? If you feel directionless, you need to start prioritizing things and focusing on 1 or 2 areas, which is what the life audit helps you do. Now, the 5th mental health hack that I would recommend to anyone who is either extremely stressed, extremely anxious, and will change your mood immediately is changing your environment. I use this one all the time, right? If I'm in my room and I'm depressed for whatever reason, I will go to a cafe and I will do what I was doing in my room, but in a different environment, and it completely changes my mood, boosts my productivity, overall just makes me feel better. Okay, that was a lot of information. Those are the 5 mental health hacks that have helped me tremendously and I know will help you. My one ask is that you actually commit to using one of these hacks. Pick one right after this video and I want you to practice it. Most of these hacks only work if you use them over a consistent period of time. Improving your mental health isn't like an immediate process. This thing takes time. Come back to this video whenever you feel overwhelmed or anxious and use these tips again because they've helped me so much and I know they will help you. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Peace.